Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctors of Running virtual roundtable, where we three doctors of physical therapy discuss the art and the science of the stuff that we are putting on our feet.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's been a while since I've said that. But today's episode is not sponsored by New Glarus Cabin Fever and Blenders.
Blenders for all your smoothie needs.
For all your smoothie needs. Anyway, today we are going to be doing a shoe review. We're going to be talking about a shoe that we received from Saucony that is currently available for sale. It became available January 1st, and that is the Hurricane 23. It is their premium trainer, premium stability trainer. And just a couple specs before we jump in. Again, this is available now. It runs at $160. It's an 8mm drop, 33.5 millimeters in the heel, 25.5 millimeters in the forefoot. It has their Power Run Plus cushioning. So for those who ran in the Triumph, it's the same midsole compound that's going on there. In size 9, it's 11.4 ounces, and for a women's size 7, it's 9.8 ounces. And in grams, that's going to be 323 grams for men and 278 grams for women. The guidance frame, which they call it, it looks like a post on the inside. It's a TPU guidance frame. Feels like some plastic. It does not feel like it's not a denser foam. It's a plastic. And we'll talk about this later, but they integrated that with the upper change on the medial side. So the stability is built in very intentionally, both through what they call the guidance frame and the upper. That's what we got. My first little hot take is that Saucony needs to stop making their insoles squeak. Do you guys get squeaky insoles, or is it just me?
None.
I have a squeaky insole.
Oh man! So
yeah, I haven't had any issue with Saucony so far. I've got a squeaker right now from a different company, but none from Saucony.
okay. This
no
one,
squeaks.
the Triumph squeaks, the Kinvara squeaks, the Guide squeaks, the Ride squeaked. I got all the squeakers.
Maybe it's just you.
Maybe it's a personal problem.
We need an audio of this to bring on the show. Maybe that should
Let it be known that Nathan is indeed a squeaker.
I should get the squeakers on. I should record it and get it on there. All right, let's start reviewing this thing. Let's talk first about the fit from the back to the front and comfort level, step in feel. We each have all of our testing miles on this shoe, and we've produced our full written review. But what do you guys say about fit and how some kind of unique things about it?
You want me to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I'm
gonna go.
Go ahead.
I was impressed with the fit. This is definitely a premium shoe where when I put my foot into it, the upper does stretch really well, but it's very secure. Again, another shoe that I have not had the lace lock. I have 91 miles as of this moment on this shoe, and I have not had to lace lock this at all. The heel midfoot is super secure. The forefoot is just a hair narrow when you put it on initially, and then it just opens up. And this is a shoe I keep reaching for, and fit is part of that, where it's just a comfortable upper. It's nice. It's maybe a little bulkier in parts than I would want because I like lightweight trainers, but it's comfortable. I like it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, this is a shoe that I look at, and every single thing about this is premium in the most honest way possible. And it's constructed very well. It's plush even in the upper, and it's comfortable. It's still breathable. The lockdown's great. I haven't had to lace lock it either. I think the stretchy laces kind of help too. You kind of like a little pull on them before you can lock it down. But yeah, it's very secure. I've trusted it in turns, trails, all the above, and the fit throughout, very accommodating. I agree the forefoot's a little narrow as well, but it's not so narrow that it's problematic in any way. It's just a good hold throughout. So this is one of my favorite uppers that I have running, and yeah.
Two quick things that I'll add on to this, because I think I agree with you guys. the thing that I like about it, it is premium, but it's not overly thick and plush in the heel. Sometimes premium shoes have a very thick tongue and a very thick cushion heel. It's relatively thin, but it's very, very soft and comfortable. And there's a little bit of, on the tongue, there's a little bit of suede towards the top that almost kind of like, it almost secures the laces from sliding around at all.
Right.
And I've appreciated that, actually. The other thing is it's thick enough for me here in Wisconsin where it's made a difference in terms of being warm. But it also seems like it would be breathable. I mean, it's cold, so I don't really want breathability right now, but it's been good for, warmth during these winter runs. And it's got a pretty structured toe guard, but it's not intrusive. It's pretty wide. I'd say in general, kind of like, for me, it was narrower in the heel, snuggish in the midfoot, and opened up a bit in the front. It has enough space, but it's got a nice structured toe guard that almost keeps that volume up, so it doesn't feel like it's constricting your toes, even though it's a little bit thicker.
Toe guards can definitely make or break forefoot of a shoe, and companies are doing really, really well right now. And I feel like this is a great example where it's there when you're pushing on it, but when you're running in it, you don't notice it that much, but it still gives you some structure without getting to the point where, it's going to take skin off. So yeah, they did this again. Companies doing well. Saucony definitely one of them. I'm gonna echo your comments on the not super plush heel, which can get really irritating. They do a great job of, again, this being almost like this performance-esque where it's not thick, but it still is very secure and holds the foot well. But I also did not notice the heel counts in terms of irritability. So yeah, upper premium. Good job.
Mm-hmm. Let's move into kind of the ride and how it felt running in the shoe. We'll talk about stability later, kind of more specifically, but let's talk about the ride, how it felt to run in it. What's the, how soft, how firm, how rigid, how stiff, that kind of stuff, bouncy. What would you guys say?
I am in love with Power Run Plus, and I also love Power Run PB too. Like, this stuff is phenomenal. It's funny that normally I would feel like I typically tend to move away from soft shoes, but I had the same experience with the Triumph where I was like, I liked it. It's a shoe that I keep reaching for because it's so comfortable and it's bouncy enough that it definitely offsets the weight. This feels like a lot lighter shoe, but the post is definitely, and we'll get into stability later. The post is really stiff and takes about maybe a mile or so to break in. And then you've just got this nice, smooth, bouncy ride that rides like a shoe that's much lighter. Not a shoe I'd ever use for workouts. It is too heavy, but for literally everything else, long runs, easy runs, recovery runs. Even I pulled a David and took this 18 miles in the trail today. It can do it. It's great when you're beat up. So yeah, it's pretty smooth. A nice bevel. It's got a lot of forefoot flexibility for a shoe this thick. So that's something that it just toes off really nice. So it's just me. What happened?
I'm gonna jump in now. I'm gonna jump in now because this is why we have multiple people test it.
Perfect. I'm glad we did not have the same perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I agreed with most. I'll jump into that stuff. But the one thing that was very different for me was how stiff the forefoot felt for me, and how rigid it was. But that didn't ruin the ride for me. It kept it stable for me, which we'll get into later. Like I love the Power Run Plus 2 as well. But when I was running in the Triumph, it was just pretty soft and I needed some help with my feet in that one in terms of stability. And this one kind of delivered that for me without being intrusive. So it just felt on my foot, it felt really comfortable. The foam is very bouncy, really enjoyable for those recovery miles when we're just plodding along. And I'm coming back from COVID still slowly and having some stuff with my lungs. So like I can't really push myself and everything feels like a recovery run because I feel tired all the time. And this was a great shoe for those miles. But like I was saying, for me, I just didn't think this gave me a lot of flexibility for toe off, but I thought that the geometry, the little bit of curvature in the front here, and just how bouncy this foam is, it just kind of rolled with me right off. And it felt like my foot my foot was happy on the platform. And like Matt said, nice bevel in the heel. They did the exact same. I think it's the exact same one as the Triumph. Both of them are money. Super comfortable for heel strikers like myself. And yeah, just really enjoyed it. No irritation for me from the guidance frame. It wasn't pushing up on my foot at all. It was just there. It existed. But we'll talk about that later.
Now correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
think
That's a pretty big deal to hear, Nathan, that you were not bothered by the post, because oftentimes you are our tester that you can be very sensitive to that. So that's a big deal. But again, later. Sorry, David.
Yeah, I've gotten I usually develop pain when I wear posts, both in my feet and my knees, and I didn't at all with this one.
Yeah, I think the post is really well integrated with the foam, because just like you, it's perfect because I'm like right in the middle of the road between both of you guys. The Triumph for me was a little soft, and it's funny because I usually like neutral shoes, but I also don't really overly go for soft shoes. And the Power Run Plus midsole is incredibly responsive for how soft and bouncy it is. And I think having that posting there helps firm up that rear foot, midfoot just enough for me to kind of get onto that forefoot. I mean, there was a run that I took this and I could not believe how fast I was actually running. And I felt like I kind of felt like I was slogging it, to be honest. And I looked down on my watch and I'm like, oh my goodness. And it's just it's the foam. It can handle a little up tempo if you really want it to. I mean, there is some weight to it. It comes with all the features that come with a premium trainer like that. But I agree with both of you guys. For me, it's very stable throughout. I like that it's firmed up a little bit in the rear foot and midfoot, and the forefoot for me was on the flexible end as well. So it kind of felt really nice at easy paces because of that. Normally when I like to go fast, I like a rigid forefoot, but when I like to go easy, I like it flexible, just nice and fluid, and that's exactly what this shoe was. And the bevel, same thing, yeah, just like the Triumph. I mean, basically a stability Triumph. So
Yep. Couple little details, and then we're going to talk about stability, and then if the shoe were a blank. That we forgot to mention. I don't know if you guys noticed the stitching that they put on this shoe is reflective, which is a nice little.
That's a nice touch.
It's nice to have a little bit of reflective nature on the shoe. And then I think, and we talked about the suede tongue. It's nice and comfortable. And this thing's a tank that's going to last.
It's locked. The tongue is also locked in really well. I feel like this is one of the shoes that makes me appreciate, again, the gusseted tongue where it's locked in. It's got that sock-like fit. I am starting to get really good at that. And this shoe is contributing to that. We're I really want that when I have a shoe to go. I want to make sure that tongue's locked in. But
really good stuff. So let's talk about stability. This is a shoe that has some elements that seem traditional, but there's a lot of non-traditional things about it. In our written review, Matt and I disagreed a little bit. And we'll get to talk about that on here. But they have the TPU guidance frame in the area of a post. They have that integrated, with the upper. They didn't just slap an upper on. They made this upper specific for the shoe. And then a couple other things that make the shoe stable. But talk about the stability. Where do you guys feel like it falls in the line of, not stable to very stable, and go for it.
Yeah.
I want to hear you first on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the moderate to max category, and I am going to play the in-between game here because I think with how soft the midsole is, it does take some of that stability away from it. The posting is integrated very well throughout and helps keep that striking pattern very linear and the gait pattern to keep going in that linear direction. One thing that I pointed out in my review is that this isn't a traditional post where they just slap it on the medial aspect. If you look, it follows the midline of the shoe as well. And so it comes as far in as this way. It really is a guidance frame. And I think it's just integrated really well. And I think it's just the softness of the foam. It kind of makes it feel more moderate. But what they've done is they've extended it all the way from the rear foot through the midfoot as well and down along that way as well. So for me, it felt very stable for my needs. Just a soft midsole takes a little bit away from it, but you have a full contact outsole as well and a wider platform relatively through there. So it was pretty dang stable for me. I really enjoyed it. without having the feeling that the posting was too involved or that it was pushing into my foot in any way. So I was really, really pleased with it.
Matt, what do you think?
The first run or so, the TPU guided frame was really present. Now, to be fair, with most Saucony shoes that use, because they typically use, this is not the first time they've used a guidance frame like this. The Saucony Mirage is kind of what this reminded me of, but they use a little different design. But that first couple runs is normal for me to go, oh, I can really feel this, and then it integrates really well. I like the stabilities for me is greatly improved from the 22, because I also had the 22 that I bought personally, and I did not like it. It did not feel stable. The shoe was way too soft. I could not feel the post at all, and it felt like a unstable neutral shoe, and I hated it. I tried to be nice in review, but I hated it. This was dramatically improved. I could feel the post integrated. It was better. The guidance line does what I think is a decent job at kind of helping the foot roll through the forefoot. I would put it more at the moderate level of stability. I didn't feel like this was a max stability shoe except for the first one or two runs, and then it seemed to break in. And I put it more moderate just because of this. I love this midsole, but it is a little softer midsole. So when you kind of like add and subtract everything, I'd put it more at that moderate level. But I think they did a great job. But how they integrate that in the upper, I'll let Nathan take that. I'm curious to hear what Nathan says, even though I've read his review.
Yeah. No, I think I would put it in the moderate to maybe moderate max as well, just because of the reality of the softer Power Run Plus. Like I said, for me, the stability of the Triumph was just tough. Longer runs, I would feel my need for stability there, and this just got rid of that sensation for me. I think the other thing, in addition to this frame, I've asked them I've been trying to talk to our contacts to get a 3D blowout of this frame, because as David mentioned, it goes through a good portion of the outsole here. However, I have this sneaking suspicion that it's, so don't take this as what it is. This is conjecture, my thoughts just on how it feels, and I'm not willing to cut a shoe open to find out. But I think it's in a wedge triangular kind of direction where it's very narrow on the top and very thick on the bottom. So you have the interplay between a decreasing amount of plastic or TPU as you get to the kind of top part of the frame. That's what I'm thinking is going on, just based on how it feels. So I feel like if it was this thick up at the top, it would just really be pushing it into your foot, and it just doesn't do that. The other thing that they do is, just like in the Endorphin Shift, they have a thickened layer of outsole through the midfoot, and then they have this thick suede medial side of the midfoot of the upper, and that just kind of feels like a sling on your foot. Like, it just feels very secure, and it locks your foot in really well, and it just doesn't stretch at all there. And I think that's valuable in combination with this, especially on such a soft foam where your foot could move a lot on a softer surface. The other thing that I thought helped with stability was, like I said, it felt more rigid heel to forefoot. And part of that, I think, is that there's no like flex grooves through the outsole. Besides the guidance line, it's a complete slab basically of rubber outsole, and it's relatively thick as well. And I think that just helps stabilize the entire ride from heel to toe, which I think is part of why I put it in the moderate up to max, because you don't just have, the assist here on the midfoot, but I think the forefoot is stable because of the wider platform and the outsole that doesn't have those flex grooves to help stabilize the softer foam. So I think toe off is nice and stable as well. So I thought it was pretty stable and also non-intrusive, which for me, like we said, is kind of a big deal for something that's got something hanging out on the medial side. This was one of those shoes where I looked at it and I was like, I'm going to hate this, to be honest. and I didn't. I mean, you'll see, I really enjoyed it for those people who are going to want to, this is get your daily miles in, get your recovery runs in. For a lot of people, for most runners, this could be a shoe that does everything for you. I'm not saying for like people who want to run a 3-hour marathon, you probably don't want to run that in this, but for most like recreational runners who are just trying to find a shoe that's going to last a long time and be enjoyable to run in, this can do that for you. But yeah.
Yeah, you could take it running through the woods too. I have.
You both have. So, David, what's our question today?
All right.
If this shoe were a blank.
If the Saucony Hurricane 23 was a national park, what park would it be?
Ooh.
This is going to be based on, have we had to be there?
National park or national forest?
Based on your information that you know about the place. You don't have to physically be there. I feel like that's kind of unfair. But I guess you have a sentimental attachment if you have been there.
Is it national park or national forest?
National park, but I'll let you slide on national forest. It's well-known one, I guess.
I mean, it's well-known to me. Does that count?
What, is it Angeles National Forest, probably?
No, it is not.
I'll give my answer. If this is a national park, I'm embarrassed.
It's fine. It's just a question. We'll just wing it.
But if this is our first time hearing the question, that's why we're scrambling right now. If the Hurricane 23 was a national park, I would call it Grand Canyon National Park. Did I take your answer? Yes! Oh, awesome. Grand Canyon National Park, it's grand, it's premium, it's soft. No, it's not soft, but I think the grandness of it and just having such a premium stability shoe, for some reason, that's just what came into my head.
Yeah, I think of something that's cozy and that has lodging and it's established. It's been there for a long time and it's big, and that's this. But I will try and think of a new answer.
No, we can have the same answer. That's fine.
That's true.
Well, since
what's yours?
And I have to be different, I'm going to go with a national forest, which almost became a national park, but that didn't go through. So I'm still going to do this. If this shoe was a national forest or park, I would equate this with the Mount Hood National Forest, and because that holds a lot of sentimental value to me. So this is a shoe that I keep reaching for when I don't know what's going to come my way. If I'm beat up and I'm a little nervous about today, this is like my happy place. And the Mount Hood National Forest has been that for me for a long time. Even though I'm in Southern California, I think about it all the time. There's some great trails there. They're nice and soft, but I can trust them. They're usually not very technical, so I'm not worried about losing my footing. But it's not so boring that it's not so that, and it's pretty durable. It's gone through a lot, so I would say the Mount Hood National Forest, just to be different. Take that.
Love it. So let's wrap up. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the National Forest by where I grew up is very technical. And
yes, it is.
I don't think I would take this through those.
No, not through there.
So let's just wrap up. Everyone gets 30 seconds to say who or what is this shoe for? I'll go first because I've thought about it. And then I can be done talking pretty much. So Hurricane 23, I think it comes in at $160. So I think for most people, if you're going to look at this shoe, it's for somebody who wants a very plush, bouncy ride that has a little bit of fun, but really is just for daily miles, recovery miles. Or if you're just that recreational runner looking for something that's going to be durable, this is expensive, $160. But in terms of value, it would probably get you that. This foam has been kind of proven to last, and then it's built with premium to upper and outsole thick covering to get you there. And who needs stability? But that said, I think, I don't want to brush over stability statements, but obviously it's a stability trainer, and But for those who were Triumph people who find it not stable enough, you might have success here. If you really like the Triumph, but it's just too soft for your long runs, you could consider trying this out.
I think I could sum it up in
Go, David.
Oh.
Go.
High cushion, needs stability, workhorse, a little bit of everything. Boom.
I'm on the same page,
Matt?
with these two, where again, if you're looking for a like softer cushion but stable ride in a premium package, maybe your feet might need to be on the normal to narrow width, and you'll really enjoy this upper, but it does stretch a little bit. So definitely a shoe that for most people, it's going to be your do everything shoe. For those of you that want a little more premium shoe with a little bit, these more fancy midsoles, yeah, it's an investment, but it's well worth it. And $160 for a running shoe, I guess, is fairly normal now, which is nuts. But yeah, a good shoe, a really consistent, reliable stability shoe that'll take you a long time and it will last a long time.
Completely.
Yeah, so I had a feeling that Matt might go over 30 seconds, so that's why I made mine.
I was gonna make the comment. You allotted Matt some extra time.
Yeah, so he can just mouth off. Yeah.
There are our thoughts about the art and the science behind the Saucony Hurricane 23. You can see our full written review on doctorsofrunning.com, as well as all of our other reviews that we've done. And then you can also check out what we're up to on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And so we have all three of those platforms up and running. So feel free to check those out, subscribe, and let us know what you want us to talk about. We are going to keep cranking out reviews, but we also want to talk about running related topics from our DPT perspective with biomechanics and what we know about orthopedics.